But the Jim Harbaugh thing, I think I see it differently than almost everybody I read and listen to. I respect Jim Harbaugh as a CEO of Michigan football more today than I did before all this sign stealing. Think about this. Goes on the road against the top 10 team. On the road. He's not on the field. Surrounded by controversy. Not even reliant on his first-round quarterback. They don't throw a pass in the second half, and they win. When Ohio State lost to Georgia, they blamed the refs and an injury to Marvin Harrison. Ohio State was reliant on officiating and a wide receiver to win a game in a neutral field. Harbaugh and Michigan go on the road, aren't even reliant on a first-round quarterback. Didn't care about the officials. Jim doesn't have to be on the field. Controversy swarming everywhere. You are officially a good boss if the company's as good when you're not there, when you're not reliant on everybody being healthy, on getting every break from the officials. It's further proof that college football is about recruiting, number one, building a staff, number two, and building a culture, number three. A+, A+, A+ for Harbaugh. Lincoln Riley knows the X's and O's. He's a great play caller and play designer. But their defensive staff is weak. They're completely, utterly reliant on their quarterback. His team lacks balance and can't land great defensive players out of high school. That's the difference. USC, who's struggling, is the opposite of Michigan. Lincoln Riley has to be on the field. The quarterback has to be the center of the offense. That is a great boss. The smartest people in the world in finance, in business, can make money and not work. They have what they call passive income and assets, not just jobs. They make money while they sleep. And that's Harbaugh. Hey, I'm not even going to be there. We can have controversy surrounding the program. I won't even pass the ball in 2023. We can be on the road. Irrelevant. We'll pound Penn State. That is a great businessman. Don't complain about the officials. Oh, if this receiver didn't get hurt. They're not even relying on the quarterback. Jeff Bezos has a line about this. Richest guy in the world, Amazon. We all use Amazon. He said, you need to be thinking 2 or 3 years in advance. And if you are, why do I need to make 100 decisions today? I need a handful of high-quality decisions. Warren Buffett says he's good if he makes 3 good decisions a year. And I really believe that. That's Harbaugh. That is Jim Harbaugh. Doesn't have to be there. Doesn't have to rely on a wide receiver, staying healthy. Can be on the road, not get every call, not use his quarterback, a first-round quarterback. Joel Klatt thinks he's staying at Michigan and has a feeling he knows the reason why.
When you're around the Michigan team, program, coaches, athletic director, water boy, ball boy, they are pissed. And they play like it. They play like it. There is just a huge part of me that believes that he has told the powers that be at Michigan, I'm staying. And that's why they're digging their heels in for him and supporting him.
Glad they are. Hope he stays. Be great in the NFL. He's been great everywhere. Small college San Diego. Academic school Stanford. NFL San Francisco. Big Ten Michigan. Same reason every time. Culture, recruiting, and staff. Always willing to pivot. Not reliant on others for success. All right. So Bronco receiver Cortland Sutton, pretty funny, goes on the internet. He built a Russell Wilson apology form. He says all you guys need to apologize to Russell Wilson. And it's gotten, over the course of, I'd say, my lifetime, I live by a couple of rules. I'm a pretty simple person. But if something doesn't make sense, then I'm not going to try to argue that it makes sense. And you can remember last year when Russell Wilson is struggling, almost 100% of you kept saying he's washed. And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. I went to historical numbers. There'd never been a quarterback who had 4 straight 100-plus passer ratings and without a major injury was suddenly washed. I said, it's got to be Hackett. It can't be. Well, Russell Wilson, through the first 9 games of this year, if you go back to last year and look at his numbers, and then you look at this year's numbers, it's unbelievable. Last year, he was Desmond Ridder. This year, he's Joe Burrow. Now, we know the difference between a great player and a bad player. Do we now understand the difference between a bad coach and a great coach? It's even more impactful. He's got basically a healthier left tackle, the same roster. Had to rebuild all of it. His 2022 numbers, he completes 59% of his throws. This year, he's 68. His passer rating, 83 to 104. I mean it, the first couple games this year when I watched, I'm like, is everybody right? Is he washed? I don't get it. But it took time with a great coach. It doesn't matter how great you are. Let's double down on this. It's hard to overcome a poor supporting cast. Think I'm wrong? Go look at Tom Brady's last year in New England as the empire was eroding. Tom's passer rating was in the 80s. His completion percentage was 60. A year later, he won the Super Bowl. Had one of his best years ever. It's why I always defended Andrew Luck's career. Can you imagine Andrew Luck with Andy Reid, Sean Payton, Sean McVay, or Kyle Shanahan? He put up remarkable numbers surrounded by utter incompetence everywhere. We have always known the gap between a good player and an average player is sizable. How about the difference between Hackett and Sean Payton? I went and looked at Russell Wilson's Seattle numbers his last several years. You know what they are? Exactly what his numbers in Denver are. If something doesn't make sense, don't rely on the internet for the answers. It's called Google. It's a search engine. It works. Go find real answers. It made absolutely no sense that a quarterback with no major injury, he's not 40, he's in his mid-30s, could go from 4 years at a certain level and be absolutely washed. And I'll admit this year, after 2 games, I'm like, the hell is this? I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense because it's not possible to go from really good to washed. Nuance, context. Mark Schlereth, he may not be the old Russell, but I think he's about 80% of it. But Mark Schlereth, who hosts a popular radio show in Denver and sees every big moment for the Broncos, discuss Russell this year.
I think the number one thing that Peyton has impressed upon me is it's important to know your strengths, but it's more important to know your weaknesses and then to mitigate those potential weaknesses. And I think Peyton really assessed what he has in Russell Wilson and the rest of this football team and said, okay, here's how we're going to win. We're going to try to run it with our running backs about 35 times a game. We're going to try to limit Russell Wilson to about 24 attempts a game. We're going to control the tempo of the game, the pace of the game, the time of possession. And in doing that, we're going to put the other team under pressure.
If something doesn't make sense, Russell Wilson, 100 passer rating, 102, 103, 104, to washed. It doesn't make sense. Don't let anybody talk you into it makes sense. Russell's back to being Russell, mostly. Doesn't quite have the same juice. We can all see that. Not quite as twitchy. But when you watch them in Buffalo, multiple laterals, best throw of the game, moving in the pocket, multiple scrambles, doesn't look quite the same. Not quite as twitchy, not quite as quick. But very good to wash. Never made sense. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.